But let's do some more here on the local scene. And former sports minister Neil van der Poel has added his voice to a recent revelation of how Captaincy cost us the 1992 Africa Cup of Nations title. Well, Neil, who was then a sports journalist, tells us the situation then was not well managed. He spoke to my colleague Mubarak Haruna.
The two players, Abedi Pele and Anthony Yeboah, were Ghana's biggest stars for the Cup of Nations in 1992. Alleged disunity on the decision of the leader of the team for the final in 1992 against Cote d'Ivoire led to Ghana's failure to win the trophy. Many have suggested that the decision to hand the captaincy armband to Anthony Bafo for the final caused the country's defeat. Neil van der Poel, who was a commentator at the tournament, blames the country's inability to manage the egos of Abedi and Yeboah.
The two of them, I think, as a country, did not manage the two of them well. They were our two most prolific stars at that time. And so each one of them will have an ego. Each one of them will have a sort of aura around him. And a lot of our players will tend to lean towards one of them, depending on how magnanimous that person was. So there were some of the players who were always leaning towards Anthony, but because one, they may be his friends already. Two, they may have played with him in the same team. Or because he used to play in Kumasi, some of these players were in Kumasi, either playing for Corners or Kotoko or other place. So he had that relationship with them. Abedi Pele too is an Accra boy, and he also have played with RTU, so we may have some players from RTU stock who were around at that time. And also because he's an Accra boy, he tend to have some relationship with Accra boys, because sometimes on weekends they play together, on Mondays they play Monday Stars and all this. So that was there. It's a reality. And I think the managers should have had that at the back of their minds and try as much as possible to create that team atmosphere and break down that sort of lineages before the tournament.
Anthony Bafo became a victim of Ghana's inability to win the tournament after he missed his penalty. Neil believes he is a victim of circumstances.
Tony Bafo is an unfortunate victim, or let me say, a mistake pawn on this chessboard, because he had just joined the team fresh. He had come from Europe with different sort of mentality, ideas, and psychology. He was taking it as he's come as a footballer. He's come as a professional, very experienced player. At that time, he was one of the people who were making headlines in Europe. So he thought that his influence in the team became very positive. So I would say that we had Abedi Pele, we had Anthony Yeboah, we had Kwesi Appiah, and we had Tony Bafo. You understand? All these players were there, poles of influence. So you could see that the team are one way or the other. If you don't have managers who could put the pawns and all these kings together, each of them will be putting the troops to his side in one way or the other. And that's what we didn't do. Possibly we needed a psychologist. We needed somebody who could see that and try and weave all these influences, egos, auras together into a very strong fabric. We couldn't do.
Ghana has since failed to win the Cup of Nations since 1982.
So that was former sports minister Neil van der Poel in that interview with Mubarak Haruna. Well, as I made mention in my intro, tonight the match is in the German Bundesliga, and of course the big one is the Bayern Munich-Frankfurt game, which will bring you live commentary on Joy FM. My colleagues Joy Jr. and Gary Al Smith will bring you that. But let's take a look at the other games to expect tonight in the German Bundesliga, and will be on your screen pretty shortly. So you have an idea. Okay, we are able to do that. So when you join us at 2 on Sports Today, we'll give you the fixtures plus other stories here on the JoyNews channel. Keep watching JoyNews. The show continues after this short break. Don't go away.